Hey everybody, it's Chris Bumbray here again for JoBlo.com with another review. This time we're taking a look at DC's much hyped and already crazy controversial Suicide Squad. Now, the early buzz off the trailers for this were great, but now it's taking a beating from critics. Are they right, or are they just being too harsh? My money's on the latter, as despite some serious problems, Suicide Squad is a fun comic book movie with a ton of style and a terrific cast of characters. Now, this picks up shortly after the events of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. With Superman dead, government agent Amanda Waller, sensing something big is on the way, assembles a team of imprisoned supervillains, including Will Smith's Deadshot and Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, both who are imprisoned after run-ins with Ben Affleck's Batman, who has a couple of short scenes. Now, it's easy to see why the early critics may have been puzzled by the film, as despite some rumored last-minute tinkering, the finished film doesn't really resemble the manic trailers and is more in line with the noirish vibe of BVS. In fact, much of Suicide Squad seems as schizophrenic as some of the characters, with jokey on-screen graphics during the character intros trying way too hard to ape Deadpool's satiric approach, while the non-stop song score seems too closely patterned after Guardians of the Galaxy, a film which, despite the studio's best efforts, this does not otherwise resemble. Now, it's too bad these gimmicks were shoehorned in, as much of Suicide Squad works just fine on its own. For one thing, the casting is just spot on, with Margot Robbie instantly iconic as Harley Quinn, a breakout heroine that could easily launch a franchise of her own. Sporting a Bronx accent and a garish but sexy style, her Quinn doesn't look or sound like any other big-screen heroine we've ever seen. Her performance is every bit as daring as, say, Johnny Depp's original take on Jack Sparrow in the first Pirates of the Caribbean. Iconoclastic, she absolutely dominates the film, giving Quinn both a badass edge and an intriguing sense of vulnerability that's only hinted at here but could be explored by follow-up films. Will Smith also seems ideally cast as the group's true anti-hero, the murderous but ultimately noble Deadshot. Jacked up more than he's ever been, Smith seems to relish playing a tough guy, although perhaps in a concession to his fan base, he's never allowed to be really bad, with him being a doting dad at heart and the most unambiguously heroic of the gang when stuff starts to happen. In fact, it's this stuff which is where Suicide Squad comes up short, with the big threat here being Cara Delevingne's Enchantress, who's taken over Rick Flag's mortal girlfriend and now wants to enslave mankind. It's all very ho-hum and leads to a lot of familiar comic book level carnage. It's a shame Jared Leto's Joker winds up being such a non-factor, as despite all the hype, he really only has a few scenes and doesn't really convey any real threat, with him mostly mooning over Harley and being wholly superfluous. In fact, you could have cut him out of the film entirely. Of the cast, the only real sense of menace comes from Viola Davis as the cold-blooded Amanda Waller, who seems tougher than any of the other baddies here, and is a strong against-type part for the actress, although one has to wonder what the originally rumored Oprah Winfrey would have done with the part. Despite this being his first ever superhero tentpole movie, director David Ayer seems well up to the task, even if some of the action scenes feel quite familiar. Cast members like Courtney's much-hyped Boomerang also never really come into their own due to limited screen time, while Joel Kinneman is too low-key and naturalistic as Rick Flag to compete with Robbie, Smith, or Davis. Despite this and other issues, Suicide Squad is nonetheless a very effective popcorn movie, with the disciplined 120-minute running time a sharp contrast to the superhero epics that run over a half hour longer. Most significantly, Suicide Squad, like BVS, feels like a legitimate film, and even if it occasionally misses the mark, one can't fault the filmmakers for not being ambitious. It's occasionally messy, but it's also quite dynamic in parts, and Robbie's heroine is one of the most exciting to hit the big screen in years. I give this a solid 7 on 10. Until next time, I'm Chris Bumbray.